In professional environments, we often assume our decisions are driven by data and clear reasoning. Michelle Rosenberg founded Comprehensive Empowerment to analyze the hidden mechanics of these interactions, helping leaders identify when a discussion is moving toward a productive result and when it is being steered by something else entirely. Imagine you are in a high-stakes strategy meeting. The conversation has been circular for an hour, but suddenly the energy shifts. A consensus begins to form with surprising speed and intensity. The arguments feel overwhelming. Every major competitor has already committed to this direction. Waiting another week will cost us our market share. The CEO has already reviewed the proposal and expects us to align. You feel an internal pressure to agree because the conclusions sound solid. However, this exchange is not a demonstration of facts. It is a sequence of psychological triggers designed to orient your perception toward a predetermined outcome. These deceptive structures are known as sophisms. They mimic logic's cadence while ignoring its rules. Identifying them requires a specific three-step method, shifting your focus from the content of the argument to the underlying mechanism of the persuasion. Our vulnerability to these traps is biological. The human brain operates on two tracks, a fast automatic system for immediate reactions and a slower deliberate system for analytical depth. In a pressurized meeting, the brain naturally prioritizes speed to conserve mental energy. Because of this demand for efficiency, rigorous logic is often the last thing we evaluate. We accept conclusions that feel right before we check if they are actually true. This sequence was mapped out over 2 millennia ago by Aristotle. He identified 3 filters that information must pass through. First, we judge credibility. Do I trust the speaker? Second, we feel the emotion. Does this trigger my fears or desires? Only then do we examine the logic. Sophisms are effective because they are built for speed. They hijack the filters for trust and emotion, establishing a sense of truth long before the analytical brain has a chance to react. To defend against this, you must recognize the sophism, a reasoning error that looks like a valid demonstration but violates fundamental logic. Take that first boardroom argument. All our competitors are doing it. This is the bandwagon appeal. It uses numerical consensus as a substitute for evidence, making a lack of alignment feel like a strategic error. The second argument, pivot now or lose everything, is a false dilemma. It ignores the complex reality of the market to create a black and white binary, forcing you to choose between a specific action and a catastrophic failure. Finally, the CEO agrees argument is an appeal to authority. It uses hierarchical rank to stop the flow of critical inquiry, implying that questioning the idea is the same as questioning the leader. Individually, these arguments are thin, but when stacked together, they create a state of cognitive overload, flooding the brain with enough pressure to paralyze our natural skepticism. Recognizing the trap is only half the battle. In a professional setting, aggressively labeling a logical fallacy usually triggers defensiveness and shuts down the room. Michelle Rosenberg's framework offers 3 tactical levels of response. Level 1 is to diffuse. You acknowledge the underlying concern without accepting the flawed reasoning. You might say, the CEO's perspective is a key data point, so let's analyze the specific risks to ensure we meet those expectations. Level 2 is to reframe. You pull the conversation out of emotional territory and back toward measurable evidence. You ask the group to define the specific metrics that make a competitor's success relevant to your unique situation. Level 3 is to confront. When other tactics fail, you name the mechanism in the room. By calmly identifying that the group is operating under an artificial deadline or a limited set of options, you break the emotional spell. These responses are not tools to win a debate. They are interventions designed to stabilize the decision-making process, allowing the group to return to objective analysis. Applying the understand, recognize, respond framework won't make you perfectly rational overnight, but it does lead to a state of lucidity. In a culture saturated with influence and confirmation bias, lucidity is a defensive skill. It allows you to remain still while the rest of the room is being swept away by a wave of manufactured urgency. True independence isn't about rejecting every suggestion. It's about seeing the invisible forces of persuasion that others are reacting to without realizing it. The boardroom examples are common, but they are just a fraction of the field. Michelle Rosenberg's taxonomy maps out 57 specific variations of these traps, providing a detailed vocabulary for the manipulation you encounter every day. When you understand the mechanics of persuasion, you stop being a passenger in your own discussions. Clarity becomes a deliberate act, transforming confusion into comprehensive empowerment.